So welcome back, everyone, to another Berserk discussion, and today we are going to continue with the Masked Man. He is here. Say hello.
Hi.
Still recovering from coronavirus, but he's
Man.
still with us anyways, despite that. And today we're going to talk about the Conviction arc of Berserk. We already talked about the Black Swordsman arc. A video is on my channel. You can search that, check it out. Also, the Golden Age talk with Mast and Rash is on his channel. So we're kind of alternating back and forth as we do it. And now we're to the Conviction arc of Berserk. And I mean, there's plenty to talk about in this arc. So
Sure.
I think what I want to start off with is just simply talking about the artwork. Not anything about the story, just the art. Because I have a lot of people that have told me that they think the Conviction arc has the best art in all of Berserk. It's when Miura was at his peak. The characters looked the best. He got past, kind of the rougher drawings of the Black Swordsman arc. It wasn't quite to the newer digital style where we're at today, but kind of like in that sweet spot in the middle. So, Mass, what do you think, especially since you're pretty good at artwork as well, like, what do you think of the art specifically in Conviction arc?
Well, first of all, thank you. But when it comes to the Conviction arc and its artwork, I think you said it. It hits the sweet spot. Being that Berserk is known for it's not really just being bloody and gory, if not for being just overall dark. And the Conviction arc in terms of artwork, there's so many moments where, and I think the best example is Guts' character, where he just looks so dark, right? And it's just done really well. All the characters look extremely dynamic. All of the apostles look phenomenal. And it's also the scenery. There's like always a lot in a lot of the manga panels going on with the scenery, and it's like this is right after the eclipse, or well, I should say, a few years after the eclipse, where we're entering more of that age of darkness, and all of these horrible things are going on in the world. So Miura definitely took it up another level, while also keeping that dark tone we love.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. I think some things that really stand out are like those double page spreads, like towards the end of the arc where he's fighting Mozgus on top of the tower.
Yeah.
Just how like crazy that looks because there's all that shit going on in the background, like as opposed to the fight that's happening in the foreground.
Right.
And just a lot of images you could kind of pinpoint. Like pretty much they could all be posters.
Pretty much, yeah.
But with the artwork out of the way, so let's get right into it. The arc starts out with the Lost Children chapters, and some people consider that its own arc, which I completely understand, but it kind of fits within the whole of
Like
the
a mini
Conviction
arc.
arc. Yeah. And there's a lot going on here. It continues actually where Black Swordsman left off. So we get this huge, long arc backstory in the Golden Age. Then we come back to the Black Swordsman. So Miura has to kind of like get us readjusted to this version of Guts. And
Right.
I kind of like how he does it. How it starts off with him, encountering these bandits basically, and then fighting that like demonic tree, and then goes right into him searching for this apostle in this town, which turns out to be the character of Rosine. It's just like the age-old tragic story. It's like Peter Pan gone wrong. It's
Yeah.
this girl that just wanted this magical elf kingdom to be out there, never found it, had abusive parents, and it got to the point where she sacrificed her parents to live out this fantasy. So what do you think of Rosine as a character? And then I guess from that you can go into like the Rosine Guts confrontation if you want to also.
It's always some prick who wants a kingdom.
Right?
And it's always some female with like horrible parents. All right, now let me stop. There was a little bit of salt in that one. When it came to Rosine's character, it's tough to like pick a point where to start when it comes to her character. And I think what I really loved about it the most is seeing how even an innocent child can be something so wicked in the world of Berserk. And I think it's interesting to see the dynamic later on. We'll talk about it with the Beast of Darkness chapters, but how the evil spirits kind of taunt Guts about killing these children, right? But then again, it's like these weren't normal children anymore, and Rosine crossed so many lines that you would never expect. Seeing what somebody's willing to do to kind of live out their fantasies and all of that, and she really was just an overall great villain, because it did everything I think every apostle managed to do and more. Kind of disturb us, but also make us kind of feel bad for him, right? It's
Definitely.
like during that, especially when you go up against Guts, and the way Guts was during that whole fight, Guts looked more of the monster than she did for the majority of that fight. which I think was really good with messing with all of our minds. There's like this one manga panel, and I don't want to make editing harder for you, so I might just send you the panel on Discord. But there's one where like Puck, he's saying like the stuff inside the cocoon's on fire, and then you see like this sad expression on Rosine's face, and then it goes down and you see Guts like hunched over with like blood dripping down his face. And you know how Miura draws Guts with his like eyes all white and everything, where he looks like just pure evil? Just like the contrast we saw with Rosine's character and Guts just made her character stand out even more as an apostle.
Yeah, it definitely kind of flipped the script on us. Like, it did it so well because you're on watching the eclipse and everything that happens, you're so on Guts' side. But then in just this one arc that comes right after the eclipse, you're still questioning Guts. You're like, wait a second, like, what is this man doing? Like, it gives you the enough sympathy towards Rosine that you can see the darker sides of Guts and how it's not a good thing, you know? Like, the man literally destroys his body to fight her. And talking about the fight, it's the best fight in Berserk thus far, I think.
Yeah, it's my number one. Hilltop of Swords would be close because of narrative, but fight-wise, nah, this one takes the cake.
It's just so incredible because Guts literally just, like, everything. He gets stabbed through the arm. He ties. I love how he wraps the sword to his hand, you know, because he literally can't grip it because his fingers are like broken or whatever. Like, just the extent that he goes to kill Rosine, and then like how damaging that is, considering like she's not even Griffith. Like, I could see him like harming his body that much if he was like literally fighting Griffith, but Rosine's just an apostle, you know. It's like she's not even like anything important, you know.
Yeah.
And then let's talk about that manga panel. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh my goodness, the one where Rosine's laughing maniacally and she thinks she's got him, and then he just turns and bites down on her horn.
Oh my god, dude.
Oh my goodness.
Talk about having like a man moment, like testosterone levels through the roof. Like, just reading that, you're just like, you want to go out and lift some weights afterwards.
Oh
like,
man, Guts' testosterone like embodied.
It's insane.
Right, yeah.
It's insane. And again, it just goes to show like the lengths he's willing to go to take down this apostle, and it's absolutely crazy.
Yeah. Right.
So going past that, obviously we won't be able to touch on every single little thing in the arc because, you know, it can't be a 10-hour video.
I do have one criticism on Rosine's character, and it comes with her character design, right? So,
too much lolly or not enough lolly?
Well, here's the thing. I'm gonna expose myself here, but there's this one panel, and I'm about to send it to you right now.
Oh god.
But it's like Guts is behind her, and he has the sword over his head, and like his face is all black, and the one eye is white, and she's like standing there, and I was like, "Yo, Rosine looking kind of thick," but then I age checked, and I was like, "Wait a second." She didn't even turn 18 before she became an apostle. So,
I'll leave it up to you if you want me to leave that in there.
Go ahead, man. It'll give people something to laugh about.
I thought you were going to comment on Rosine's feet. Anyways, moving right along.
It's not bad. All right, anyways.
So after that whole situation, we get the first Beast of Darkness chapter, which I think is literally just called the Beast of Darkness. And I wanted to know your first impressions when you got to that chapter, because it's not really... I mean, it is alluded to, but you don't really know that until you get to the Beast of Darkness, because the way Guts is drawn, he's already drawn like the Beast of Darkness before we even get to this chapter, you know what I mean? But once we get to it, like, what did you first think when you got to that chapter? If you had any thoughts at all, maybe you were just like, oh, he's being haunted, and then kept reading, you know?
Right. So when it came to the Beast of Darkness chapter, I think for me, it really... I'd say it added... Because Guts already has so many layers as a character. But after seeing this and seeing what Guts kind of goes through internally when we're first presented with this Beast of Darkness chapter, and he's kind of being like taunted by these evil spirits and whatnot, it's like... Wait, I'm on the right chapter, right?
Yeah.
I'm thinking of the one where like the evil spirits are taunting him, and they're like... Right, okay, yeah. So he's like walking through the woods, and like the evil spirits slowly turn into like the Beast of Darkness. And it talks to him. Yeah, okay, I'm thinking of the right one, my fault. So they're talking to him, and they're like taunting him and antagonizing him about him again killing these children and doing all these things. And then this is where Griffith apologists will take this one chapter and then like run with it, but they need to slow down. So, but I love what it did still, is how it kind of talks about how he can become a monster like his friend, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the like spirits turn into Femto's mask. And so it's just kind of crazy to see how Guts is being kind of tortured, where it's like the thing he hates the most is also inside of him. And it like my first impression of it was like, wow, he just has it rough. But I think when it comes to Berserk as a whole, and not just this chapter, is then you pick up more on the narrative things once you reread it.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of first impression, it was like, wow, Guts just has it rough on multiple levels. More than before.
I think when I first read it, there was a couple of things, because obviously because of the internet, I'd already seen some images from Berserk, so I've seen what the Berserker armor looked like. So like when I saw it, I was like, this must have to do something with that, because the image of like the hound or whatever it is. So I was like, this is probably important. I should pay attention. But what I like about the chapter itself is that it doesn't give you a straight up kind of black and white answer as to, is he just being haunted? Is this his own thoughts? Is this, a demon? Is it a literal demon inside of him? Like, you don't really know. And I like that idea. And also there's this image, again, I'm going to have to find it for the video, but it's this image of Guts, like, running, and he's reaching up, and then you see, I think Femto in the distance.
Oh, it's like all black. And Guts is like, it's like how much farther. Yeah. I know which one you're talking about.
And I think it can be interpreted a bunch of different ways, but like for me, I think it's the idea that like Guts is on that path that's like leading him to be like Griffith. Like Griffith was always above him, and like the image shows that Griffith, Femto above him, and him going towards it, and it's kind of like, Guts is also getting rid of his humanity, but in a different way. Like, Griffith did it his way, but now Guts is, like, becoming that beast of darkness. He's, like, slowly, instead of doing it instantly, he's very slowly stripping away his humanity, segregating himself from everybody and whatnot. So I think just the symbolism of that very, very simple image is, like, really profound. And it's great. Mm-hmm. So, moving along, we'll just talk briefly about the introduction of Farnese and Serpico.
Right.
We can do the whole Holy Iron Chain Knights, like that whole scene, everything from there. Because at first I hated Farnese. I couldn't stand her. Serpico was fine. I was like, all right, he seems like a cool dude. I didn't really have like too big of an opinion on him one way or the other. But like Farnese, I was like, God damn it. Like, it's like, she's just annoying, and I didn't like her. And, like, looking back now, I'm smacking myself in the back of the head, because Farnese is, like, the most developed character other than Guts himself. Like, she pulls a complete 180. But I just remember, like, when I first got to her, I just really didn't like her, and I found her annoying. So what did you think, first impressions of Farnese and Serpico?
Well, Farnese and Serpico, Serpico's my second favorite character in all of Berserk, and right from his introduction, I instantly liked him. I thought he was cool, level-headed, was somebody, that I liked. Of course, you like the character more as, you get to know him more, but Serpico is, off a good chord. Now, Farnese, when she was first introduced, it was like, I don't know, maybe it was because I kind of skimmed through it the first time I read the Conviction arc. It didn't really bother me too much, or by the time I got to, Farnese's introduction, I was like, oh, she's probably not important. Skip. Well, I was wrong. But from the things that I did see, and after rereading it and actually reading through it the first time properly, she came off as annoying. Maybe not as annoying as, I don't know, because I don't know how annoying she was to you. Would you say she was like as bad as Isidro for you at first?
No, not that bad.
Not that bad? Okay, so no, we're probably on the same page then. She definitely struck me as like this hypocrite, but she didn't really strike me as anything too special, because back in the Black Swordsman arc, we had that one guy who basically sold off the entire village to the one snake apostle for hypocritical reasons and self-justification. So Farnese just kind of struck me as like somebody who I guess you could relate to in certain aspects, but it was like,
You could tell right away that she didn't deserve her position.
Right.
That she was put there for some other reason. Later we find out it's because her father, made it happen.
But
like,
qualified.
Yeah. but she technically defeats Guts.
Oh,
Because Guts runs towards her and she holds out her sword, and then he like passes out and lands on her sword.
Poor Guts.
And they're like, Farnese did it.
Yeah, that was so dumb. It was like, you know how much Guts has gone through before actually getting a good night of sleep?
Like no rest after the Rosine fight, and then that happens.
He was massacring some of those, like he was going ham on those nights.
Hilarious.
Lovely.
So we'll flash forward to the Cracks in the Blade chapter. Arguably the best chapter in Berserk. Spire did a video specifically on this, and it's pretty beautiful. I'd recommend everyone go check that out. Yeah. It's probably why I'll never make a video just on that chapter, because it's like, well, it's already there. It's already made. It's already good.
Right, so, and you can't. None of us are gonna outdo that. So
right, exactly. However, it is one of the best chapters in Berserk because it kind of brings everything back full circle and sets Guts on his new path. So Guts comes back to the cabin of Godo's and realizes Casca is gone. She wandered off and they couldn't find her.
Right.
And like the character, Guts is pissed at Rickert and whatever. Like, why didn't you go get her? And no, I think it's Erica actually, the little girl, that she's like, you're the one that left us. What are you blaming us for?
Yeah, Erica gets mad and like punches him.
Yeah, she like steps up and like it. It's so
Little
funny
Erica.
that like everything Guts has gone through, it takes like a little like 8-year-old girl to like put him in his place.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
And then he talks to don't take that the wrong way, audience. Anyways. Anyways, then he talks to Godo, and they have this whole analogy about the cracks in the blade, basically, like of Casca being Guts' fire that keeps the darkness away, that forges his sword and everything, and how much damage has been, like 10 years worth of damage within 2 years to a sword, I think he says.
Yeah, 10 years to 2. Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, and it's just such a great chapter, and Godo, in his last, like, he's on his deathbed basically, and he tells Guts, you got to keep close what's important to you. You're running away from it, and then it's causing all this damage to you. And Guts like thinks about when he left the Bantha Hawk the first time, and he's in that cave. And what's really cool about it is like he's in this cave, and he doesn't have his sword because it's being worked on, like it's being repaired, right? And we know Guts, like from childhood, sleeps with his sword. And so I like that it's like he's awake all night thinking about this because he can't sleep because he doesn't have his sword. Anyways, if you have any thoughts on the Cracks in the Blade, go just shoot them off.
So Cracks in the Blade is what I think from that chapter onward is where we see Guts kind of become an entirely different character. And it's kind of crazy how the change seems a little drastic, but it seems natural at the same time because it just in the last arc, the Golden Age arc, it was like this was the Guts, this was Guts before the eclipse. Not saying that, Guts still wasn't having his issues and all of that, but if not seeing, his issues with the Beast of Darkness and him understanding that everything, with Casca or having Casca close to him is what's necessary for him to kind of keep it all together. It really summarized a lot, if not all of Guts' character in one chapter, which is really impressive when you think about it.
Yeah, definitely. I would completely agree, 100%. And it really stands out as one of the best chapters of all time.
Right.
So then we start to get into like the latter half of the Conviction arc, and we get introduced to a whole bunch of new characters. We can touch on them just a little bit. We don't have to go in depth into all of them, but I'm just going to kind of list them off just because there's a crazy amount of characters here. So we got Luca, Nina, Jerome, Isidro, and Mozgus are the big ones. Obviously, there's more, but those are kind of the bigger ones. I guess first and foremost, I don't know. Should I just get Isidro out of the way? I don't know.
Let's get like the really, really bad ones out of the way.
Okay.
So let's start with Nina.
Oh God. Yeah.
Nina. Oh my goodness.
Nina's horrible. She's a horrible person. From beginning to end.
Oh my goodness. She was number 1 on my top 5 worst Berserk characters list. She's just. Oh my goodness. I said in the video, I was like, she needs to just stop and make me a sandwich. And then someone commented she wouldn't even make the sandwich right, and I was like,
yeah, that's true.
Nah, but she.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so there's this group of, prostitutes with a heart of gold, right? Except for Nina, who just
Right.
okay, she has a disease, which, okay, you feel a little bit of sympathy at first. And then you
Eh.
discover her, I don't know if it's actually her boyfriend or just the boy that, like, comes to her the most or whatever. I guess you pronounce his name Joaquin. But she leads him into this, like, heretic party orgy thing that he doesn't even really want to be there, and she kind of pulls him into it and seduces him, and then he has to do some things. Okay,
Yeah.
he's got to do some
Yeah.
things that no boy would want to do.
Right. Right.
Involves, like, a snake. It's not really a snake. I don't know. There's some hallucinations going on. Anyway, he winds up falling off a freaking cliff.
Yeah.
and like Nina is responsible for this, and then
Right.
like we're supposed to still feel sympathy for her afterwards, and I'm like, no, dude, like
Yeah.
she made her boyfriend fall off a cliff.
Nah,
Like,
the most annoying thing of it, and someone brought it up in the comments of that one video, and it didn't even hit me, but it just made me more mad. It's like edged so many times that she's about to be killed, but she doesn't get killed.
yeah, that's true.
It's like, just kill her already. Like,
Yeah, Luca like spanks her, but that's not enough.
I mean, I
That's-
wouldn't mind a spanking from Luca. Wait, what?
None of us would, man.
All right.
Oh man, that's why Jerome's a lucky guy.
Jerome.
Can we talk about? All right, let's talk about Jerome real quick.
Yeah.
Just
stud.
real quick on touch on Jerome. He's the one. He is, I think, the most underrated character in Berserk. I might do a video on like top 5 underrated characters or something, because
Ooh, that's a good one.
yeah, because Jerome. Okay, look, he's this dude. He's with the Holy Iron Chain Knights, but he's pretty much just doing it as a job. He doesn't have like real, no pun intended, conviction towards anything. Like he doesn't like. He's not happy to be like torturing and executing, heretics and stuff like that. He's just there for a job. He hates his boss, which is Farnese, which is hilarious. And then he's
Right.
he's seeing Luca on the side, and like,
Right.
and then when push comes to shove and it's time to fight, okay, he's not like super powerful or anything, but like he does fight. He winds up fighting apostles, like, well, pseudo apostles, but like he's there in
Still.
the thick of it. He's in the shit. He's not running away, and he's doing
Yeah.
it all for his lovely prostitute girlfriend Luca.
Yeah.
I love Jerome. As far as the other characters, so we touched on Luca a little bit. Now, I guess with Isidro, let me just say, like, okay, he's not the worst character ever. Like, I know, like, I don't like him. It's known I don't like him, but, like, it's just, he's fine. He just should not, I just feel like he feels like he's in the wrong manga. Like,
Right.
because he's
Someone
introduced...
said One Piece would be good for him.
It probably would be. Because, like, all the other characters just come into the story so naturally. Like, you got the Holy Iron Chain Knights, and you got the Heretic Village, and you got Mozgus and everything. Like, they all just, like... It makes sense for the plot, and it doesn't feel like it's forced,
Right.
But Isidro just shows up in one chapter randomly, and it's just like, here's this new character that's just going to be a main character now, and it just feels so out of place to me.
Right.
And he's just this young boy that wants to be a swordsman. He doesn't have like an interesting backstory or anything. He's just kind of there, and I feel like specifically in the Conviction arc, he just kind of bogs things down. Yeah.
I remember like people also commenting on the top 5 like where's Berserk, like the Isidro like defenders. They're like, what do you mean Isidro doesn't do anything? Remember that one time it had something to do with Casca or saving Casca. It was like without
Yeah.
Isidro, Casca would have been burned. And I was like, wait, but weren't there also a few moments later where Guts was like, hey, keep an eye on Casca, and then Casca like wandered off on Isidro's watch? So
yeah,
it's
pretty
like
much.
it's like
Also, if it's not like if Isidro wasn't there, somebody else couldn't have done that. Like,
exactly.
it
he
could have been
just doesn't-
Jerome.
Bro, if it was Jerome,
Oh, man.
Jerome was already a stud. But like, the biggest issue with Isidro isn't necessarily whether he actually does things useful or not. It's whether him as an actual character is valuable. And Isidro could honestly be replaced. To be honest, like,
Yeah.
other than the comedy relief moments he adds, which it's like, like we already had Puck for that, right?
Yeah.
It's like we already had Puck for that. And so my thing with Isidro and my solution as to how to fix his character is he needs to go through something bad, like really, really bad. And I don't know, like just make him really cool, give him like an adult form like Gon has in Hunter x Hunter that makes him somewhat cool. I don't know, man. Just
Yeah, I completely agree. Like, I feel like he just he needs something to like. Everything they've done with this character is pretty much to benefit Guts and not really to benefit Isidro.
Right.
But anyways, let's get off of him. We'll talk about. Okay, so the last main character that's introduced in this arc, well, a main character for this arc is Mozgus.
Right.
And dude, Mozgus, I think is safe to say is my second favorite Berserk villain behind Griffith or Femto.
Right.
I am just so. I think it's because I find Mozgus actually scary, like because
Right.
apostles and stuff and demons, like I know, like you know, not necessarily going to run into them down the street, right? But like a guy like Mozgus, I think of like not to get too real, but I think of like the Westboro Baptist Church and things like that, like
Right,
people
right.
that just take it way too far and like
Right.
firmly believe that God is on their side to the point where they can justify any horrible action.
Exactly.
You know? Yeah, like
Right,
it doesn't
right.
matter because they're right, because they have divine truth on their
Authority.
side.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think the way that it's presented and like just the way they draw Mozgus's face, like that blank, like robotic kind of face, I think it's like adds to the creepiness because he's
Right.
so just blank about it, you know, except when he
Until he
gets like
hears
super
sin.
fired up. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I really appreciated how they did that because I think he's actually pretty scary, and also how they make you think he's probably an apostle, and then like through reading the arc you realize no, he's not. He literally is just a human. I mean, he
He's
gets
just
powers
huge.
later, but yeah. So yeah, what did you think of Mozgus?
Right. So my perspective on Mozgus has always been, I think, different from most people who might read Berserk. Me being someone who has religious Christian beliefs and all of that, and so I love the way Miura really presented it because I think no person should ever be blind or brainwashed to the realities or truths of abuse, right?
Mm-hmm.
And especially throughout history, we've seen it with not only just the Catholic Church, but later on, even the Protestant Church when they were, burning witches at the stake and all of that. And as you brought up the one, what was the name? Westboro Baptist, right?
Oh yeah, yep.
Yeah, sorry, I forgot the name. Literally left me.
Oh, it's okay.
But
They're not
seeing-
worth remembering.
Okay, yeah, I know, right? But there was one saying that I was told one time, and it fits Mozgus's character perfectly, and it's when man thinks that God serves their will instead of man serving God's will, you can
Yeah.
see just how far people are willing to do things. Like there's that one scene where they're collecting funds, right, for the church when that village is starving.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, come on, man.
Mhm.
Like,
And the
that should
scene-
never be it, you know?
Yeah, and the scene with the mother that has the sick baby.
Oh, man.
I forget what she did that was out of line, but he was like, he brought her with them, took care of the baby, and was like, it's great that you did this in order to protect your child, that's great, but you still sinned, and sin is sin. And then sent her to the torture chamber anyway.
Right.
And it's just like, dude, what the fuck? Like,
Yeah. It's
he,
really
like,
rough.
he complimented her for, like, saving her child, but he's like, but you still sinned.
Right. And it's crazy to just see, and I love it. I honestly love it, seeing how, like, the extreme Mozgus's character is, which is why I think it makes such a phenomenal villain for the arc, especially, again, in contrast with a character like Guts, who really doesn't care for that.
Yeah.
And yeah, Mozgus, again, like everything in context, that's what's happening. Griffith is about to come back. We just met Farnese, and we have this like holy Iron Chain Knights, and here's the Big Daddy himself, Mozgus. Like,
Mozgus, Big Daddy. I like that.
wait a minute, that's not what I meant.
Anyway, moving on. So once Guts arrives, we get Guts versus the Goat Apostle and Guts versus Serpico.
Yeah.
So Serpico proves to be like a pretty great strategist, where he realizes that he can't beat Guts one-on-one in combat because Guts is just too powerful. So he puts Guts in a position where he's extremely disadvantaged. So they're on the hilltop. Guts can't draw his sword. The sun's in his eyes, and Serpico is like preventing him from drawing his sword, which was like a really, really cool way to
Strategy.
do it. Yeah, and like for this whole arc, pretty much we've seen like human or Guts versus Apostle, so it was cool to see a human versus human fight after, because
Right.
we hadn't seen one for so long,
Right.
So yeah, any comments on the Guts versus Serpico battle?
That's the one, yeah. So that fight was, it just made Serpico even cooler. for me. And just when Guts caught the sword,
Yeah.
it was just like,
He's just like, nah, I've had enough of your shit.
yeah, it's like, what do you even do at that point? Serpico was smart. He dipped. He was like, yeah, nah, I'm out.
Yeah.
Smart man.
Yeah, it was good stuff. So we got 3 more topics I definitely want to touch on. The first is the egg of the perfect world.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, so why don't you go first with this one? What do you think of the whole concept of the egg of the perfect world? I guess just like, an apostle that had nobody to sacrifice and then just became the Bailet that would bring Griffith back.
Right. So that was I really felt bad. The guy's name was literally nothing.
Yeah.
And it's just, it opened up the possibilities of what a person could sacrifice and all of that. And I thought that was extremely interesting because up to that point, we thought it had to be, other people, things you cared about, whatnot. And, just seeing him, this person, nothing, become something of major importance within the world of Berserk was kind of crazy. It was like this thing, this person, nothing, had so much. It honestly felt like he had a ton of development, and we only knew him for like so little. And so it was a really neat concept that Mira was able to draw up, and really creative too, as a way to bring back Griffith.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely agree. And it answers a question that one would probably have reading Berserk is like, okay, you're reading it and you're like, so you sacrifice something to become an apostle, but what if you have nothing to sacrifice?
Right.
I like how Miura just answers that for you. Like,
Right,
this is what happens.
Right.
So we get to like the ending of the arc. We have the final battle. So, Guts goes to the Tower of Conviction. All hell breaks loose because Guts and Casca are in the same place. So like all the restless spirits that were tortured and whatnot are coming back. And
Right.
basically just like engulfing people into this like ocean of just bodies, like it's so,
Yeah.
the way it's drawn is so brutal. Like again, adding to the artwork of this arc, it's just like, it's so intense. And
Right.
then the egg of the perfect world can turn people into pseudos as well. So you get Mozgus and his torturers all having enhanced abilities, and again with
Right.
Mozgus, what's so great of him as a character is his like believing that it was divine intervention, like God
Right.
gave him wings. He literally has angelic wings,
Yeah.
which is just so fantastic. And then
Yeah.
like, all the people around the tower just like believing Mozgus is their savior. Like they don't know who Guts is. They have no idea who the fuck this dude is. They just see
Yeah.
some dude in dark armor with a sword, and they're like, Mozgus, save us. And I just like, oh my god, like I love how it
irony
just
of it all.
Yeah, the irony, like how it twists it, like they just believe in Mozgus as their savior and they have like no idea what's going on.
When he's getting his like power from like demonic forces, if anything,
Yeah,
it's like
it's just
like
it's such like a bait and switch like turn of like of how you would see things, because like it deals with like the mob mentality too. Like people are like, burn the witch because that's the only way to stop this, and they're grabbing at
Right.
Casca and stuff, and they're just like,
don't question anything, just go with what everyone
Yeah.
else is going at. Yeah.
it's just such a crazy final battle. I just I love it, and it's just like
Yeah.
it builds up so perfectly, and yeah, I don't know if you have any more comments on that, go for it. I lost my train of thought.
No, yeah, no, it happens all the time. No,
Yeah.
that fight, Mozgus is like smacking Guts around with like the 1,000 god hand, like he like hits Guts with like 1,000 punches
Yeah,
at like
yeah.
once.
Yeah.
And if anything, Mozgus in that form looks like solid steel, and it's like, Guts, bro, what? And so he finds a weakness, penetrates Mozgus, and throws him over the tower. And it was just honestly a sick fight. It's in my top 5, for sure. I think it was my number 4. But that fight overall is just crazy. And part of it is the context, as you said. Everything that's going on around it. Like Casca is like, Guts just saw Casca again. And Griffith is on the verge of coming back. And all of these people are... And it's like, oh my goodness. The Skull Knight was just there. We just got introduced to all of these new characters. It's just so much happening at once to now have this climax of the final battle.
Definitely. And you know what? You just reminded me of something I forgot. Is actually, it has my favorite panel in this, right after this scene, after he defeats Mozgus,
Right.
is when he finally gets to Casca, and just like wraps his arm around her, and like his head is looking down. He has that like somber look. Do you know what panel I'm talking about?
Is it the one where he like wrapped his like cape around her?
No, not that one. It's they're still on the tower. I mean, I'll definitely put it in this video, but it's he just has like one arm around her, and just like the look on his face, like the drawing that Miura did with Guts' face, it's just like so somber. It's just like conveys so many emotions. It's like, one, I'm sorry for leaving you. Two, you know, I just went through all this shit to get to you. Three, she's completely out of her mind, and like he can't, you know, it's like not the same Casca, and it's just like you see the sadness, and it's just, dude, there's just like so much to it. I might be reading too much into it, but like
Nah,
I
but
feel like
yeah,
that image just has so much to it.
I think I don't know. Because I'm thinking of one, but it's not the one you're describing. But when I see it in the video, I'll be like,
You'll be like,
comment.
oh yeah,
I'll comment.
yeah,
I'll comment.
yeah.
Don't worry.
So let's just talk about the finale, like to wrap it all up. So you know, Griffith comes back, Zod shows up, bows down. Just anything about the finale of this arc. What did you think? First impressions.
Oh my goodness. Griffith coming back. It's like, I don't know in terms of how I felt about it emotionally now, or how I feel about it emotionally now, because how I felt about it at first was I was like, somebody snipe him, please. Like, I was just hoping somebody had
Skull
like
Knight
a
throws the Baylate sword like from across.
more than that. Like, somebody had like a modern day sniper rifle. Like, I was genuinely hoping. But then to see Zod bow down, just to call back to all of the things, it's like, oh wait, Zod's on his side. But yeah, it's just it leaves you wondering what next.
Definitely.
Because Griffith comes back, and you're like, this can't be good. Because the last time we saw Griffith, he was throwing Guts around like a telekinetic ragdoll, and so Guts and Casca are there, the Skull Knight's there, Zod's there, Griffith is there, and it's like, oh my goodness, what is about to go down? And one of the first things that actually came to my mind is I thought all of the God Hand members were going to start coming back one by one. And so I was like, oh, this is going to be it. And then I was like, oh, wait a minute, there's still like a couple hundred, there's like another 100 more chapters or something left. But yeah, my first reaction to that was just, my goodness, this is...
Yeah. It's pretty crazy because like I like how this whole arc basically does not have Griffith in it until like the last chapter or whatever, and it's just like to do that, to write a story where you just did this whole the Golden Age arc, you just did this whole thing about how important Griffith is to the story and to Guts' character and all that, and then like you take him out like you do an entire arc without Griffith.
Right.
Until like the very and leave it to the very end. So like when that reveal happens, when it happens and you see him, you have this emotion that's just like that, like you had, like somebody sniped this bitch, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
right.
Because you went all this time without him.
Right, right.
You know, and then all of a sudden he's just there, and you're just like, fuck, you know, like,
and he's in this glorified body. And it's
naked
just
and shining,
right? And it's like the rest of everything we've seen in the Conviction arc is so dark and grotesque, and now Griffith comes back and he looks beautiful, and you're like,
that's a good point.
Why? Like, someone kill him. And I thought Zod was gonna do it, but then he bows down, and I'm like,
right, yeah. Which is that whole thing is crazy too. Like Zod, like pledging his loyalty to Griffith and everything like that. I mean. Yeah, and there's more we didn't touch on, like with the Demon Child and stuff, but like
that's real complex and everything.
It is. But like just in general, like I said, we can't talk about every single thing that happens in the Conviction arc because it would be like a really, really long video. We're only at 40 minutes though. That's not too bad. We did
forget one very important character.
Yes,
we forgot probably the most important character in this arc. I'm going to bring it up so no one else does in the comments, and if someone brings it up in the comments, then they obviously didn't stick around to the end of the video. I don't blame them, though. This is long. The horse.
Oh.
The horse.
I was like, wait, Donovan's not in this arc. What are you talking about?
Just clip this and put it at the very beginning.
Oh, the horse.
The lovely horse. Not me, yeah.
You know... Yeah, it's just sometimes a horse just needs to do what a horse does. You know what I mean?
Oh my, that was crazy though. Then Farnese gets like possessed, and she's like lift
Oh
up,
yeah.
and I'm like, whoa!
Ugh.
I do find
But,
it crazy though. Farnese.
Let me tell you, Farnese with that long hair though,
I like how Farnese
dude.
looks now though.
I like the long hair on her, man. I don't know.
I've always been more of a short hair type guy, personally.
That's fair.
Plus, she's just such a great person now. Before
Yeah.
back then and all of that. So I mean, she probably
Yeah.
has some of that masochist nature in her still, which is why she like loves
I'm
guts.
sure.
But yeah.
Well, that just goes like she ends this arc with like this determination to like follow guts and like figure out what's really going on in the world, right?
Right.
So this is like the very beginning of like what turns her into a great character is the end of this arc.
Right.
And then of course Serpico is just like, well, I guess I'll follow you and make sure you don't die.
Pretty much.
Yeah. But yeah, all in all, guys, so that's pretty much going to cover the conviction arc for this series of videos. Leave stuff in the comments of stuff we forgot, because I'm sure there's a bunch, so comment down below. Also, go check out the Masked Man's channel. Link will be in the description. Go over there and subscribe. He puts out some good Berserk content and other anime things as well. Other than that, thank you for being here, dude. And we will have a Millennium Empire video on his channel at some point in the future, but if there's anything you want to plug, go ahead. If not, just say your fond farewells.
No, yeah, I'll also and I'll send you the link to this, Ryan, but I'll be leaving the link to the playlist where we kind of run through the Black Swordsman arc, and we also run through the Golden Age arc if you want to see the discussion on those two arcs as well. But now, yeah, thanks for having me.
Hell yeah, dude. Till next time, everybody.
Peace.
Goodbye.